Hey, what is up, everyone? So it's been 1 month since we got the Reaper Forts added to Sea of Thieves, and I thought it'd just be a good time to go ahead and talk about my thoughts on this new world event in the game since I've had a lot of time being able to play this. So, with the introductions of the Reaper forts, we also got the introduction of Mega Stashes with these forts. And this is only going to last, it was only supposed to last a month, it's supposed to end around right now. But with the delay of Season 18, it's been extended, but this will be going away with Season 18, and presumably the Chest of Fortune will be going away with it. So with that said though, I want to talk a little bit about my experience playing the Reaper forts over the past month, and then talk a little bit about how I think that's going to change after this Mega Stash event and the Chest of Fortune are gone. So this past month has been a lot of fun. It's probably been the most fun I've had all year with Sea of Thieves, which I wouldn't really say was that high of a bar for the game for this year. I haven't been the happiest with the game for 2025, but this Mega Stash event with the Reaper Forts has been a lot of fun, and these Reaper Forts have brought a lot of excitement to the game. I was just playing the other night, and I wasn't even going in to try to do one of these Reaper Forts, but I saw it active. I was going in to get B-roll for something else for another video that I'm working on, but I went ahead and went over there, and it was like 5 sloops all fighting, and I was just there tucking at the very top of it, watching everyone fight, and basically waiting for the moment to strike. I've really had a lot of fun with these Reaper forts in that sense, being able to go and either just do them myself and then either have to defend them or whatever the case may be, have some smart strategies in terms of, being able to successfully complete it without having someone else steal it from us, or on the other side, us successfully stealing it from someone else. This is the first time in several years of playing Sea of Thieves that I've seen whole server battles all fighting for the same thing and happen a lot of the time. Most of the times when I'm doing these Reaper forts, there's at least several ships all fighting for it. So I think that has done a really good job at bringing back players to have something to strive for. Now, the problem that I have thinking about the Reaper Forts long term is I don't think the gameplay on its own is what's making people come to the Reaper Forts to have this exciting experience with everyone fighting for it. It's really because of the Mega Stashes with the chance to get 3 Chest of Fortunes. That's why I've been playing them a lot. That's why I think a lot of people have been doing. And if you notice, a lot of times when you see the Reaper Forts, people are just leaving treasure in the vaults there because they only really care about the Chest of Fortunes and maybe a few other treasures. I've had many times where, say, if someone's done an Athena raid, they'll just leave the empty Athena raid treasure inside the vault there and they'll just go and dive to a new one. I've seen people that will just grab the Chest of Fortune, maybe the Chest of Legends, and a few other things, and then leave like the Reaper stuff there. And I've seen basically everyone leave the Smuggler stuff there if it spawns with Smuggler stuff in the vault. So, with that in mind, it really does make me worry that this Reaper Fort is going to be kind of dead content once we get to Season 18. Similar to how we have stuff like the Skull Siren Song, where you can basically do that uncontested now if you were to do the Skull Siren Song because no one is really doing it. So it ends up just being like a wasted piece of development in the long term. In the short term, it's been a lot of fun, but my concern is I feel like with the Reaper forts, they are essentially just skeleton forts, but a little bit more annoying because you have the ghost ships and then you have the phantoms and stuff. I think everything on the actual fort itself, like the phantoms fighting you and like the increased wave sizes and everything, is fine. I actually like that a lot, and I really liked having like the traps on there and the cachet that's available on there. The only thing that I think is kind of annoying is if you're playing solo, the ghost ships are a bit of a frustration, and it also makes it a lot harder to hear if people sneak up. You can view that as whether a good thing or bad thing, but I think that on its own might push people away from wanting to do them, especially if the rewards that you get from it aren't enough to keep players interested. So let's talk a little bit about the rewards that you get. I think the normal stash that you get from this, not talking about the mega stash or the raid voyage, is not great. I've gotten it a few times, and it's fun because right now we're getting the chest of fortune in there. You get at least one with that regular stash. But oftentimes we get smuggler loot that's in there. We always just leave the smuggler loot because it's not really worth us going to another place to sell that at. You get some Reaper treasures, so you have to go to Reaper's Hideout to sell that. And then if you want to progress stuff for like the other trading companies, you have to go into an outpost to sell that stuff. So that's at least 3 turn spots that you have to go to sell just a little bit of treasure. It's not really enough that I think it's worth it. And I think what would be a little bit better for the Reaper Forts is to get rid of all the smuggler treasure that's in there for the regular stash, because that's what's going to be staying around after Season 18 releases. and potentially replacing that with more Reaper treasures. Because I think that's really the main thing that makes the Reaper Forts actually something that's fun to go and do. Because even though you might not have the Chest of Fortunes in there, the Reaper treasures I think are still valuable and they help you progress a lot of the accommodations. That's one of the things I've been working on with this event. Even if we don't get the Chest of Fortunes, it's nice to be able to have some of like the Reaper treasures and the trinkets and stuff that we can sell that progresses some accommodations. I think the Hunter's Call items that we get inside the Reaper Fortresses are also really good to help progress some of the Season 15 accommodations. So I think some of that stuff has been pretty decent and will be good after the season's over. But I think the biggest concern that we should have for these Reaper Fortresses is if this is kind of the strategy going forward, is this a good long-term strategy? It's good in the short term, it gives people a nice little boost to do with very valuable treasure to go for with these mega stashes. But in the long term, should they be focusing on gameplay and making something that's new and unique? I think next season we're going to see that. The third month act for season 18 is going to be the Ashen Garrisons, which sound very unique and new, with the exception of the Skeleton Lord battle at the end. I think that was a big mistake for them. But if you look at the Reaper Forts, they're really not that much different than the regular Skeleton Forts, and I don't think they're even really attempting to make it that different. It's really just meant to be an upgraded version of those. So what can Rare do to keep the Reaper Forts engaging? I don't think you're ever going to have it be like it is currently with the 3 Chest of Fortune Mega Stashes available, unless they bring that back again. I just don't think you're going to have as many people going for these Reaper Forts going forward. But I think if you want to keep it at least somewhat still popular to do, you need to first fix the treasure that's in the vault. I think yeah, get rid of all the smuggler treasure. It's clear based off, just what I've seen anecdotally and also what I've seen in forums and people comment. No one really cares about getting the smuggler treasure. The second thing you need to do is you need to fix the raid voyage loot. This is something that I've complained about since the very beginning when we first had the Reaper Fortresses added to the game. It's something that I've seen people comment about a ton, and just, anecdotally again, whenever I see someone do these raid voyages, they'll just leave the Athena treasure in there if it's not a mega stash. And that should be a big indicator that the treasure's not worth it. If the loot in the vault is so bad that's not even worth taking the treasure to your ship and then going to an outpost that's not usually too far away to go sell, that should be a big indicator that you're not putting something valuable enough to keep people interested in going for it. I have a feeling that people that are leaving the treasure there aren't just leaving it because they only care about doing the Reaper Forts because of the gameplay. I don't think it's the gameplay that's compelling them to go and do this and then leave the treasure behind. I think they're just trying to get the mega stashes. So the raid voyage I think is a big one that they need to fix. Obviously you don't want it to be as big as the emergent one, but the problem that I see is many times when people are going for the Reaper Forts, it looks like it's an emergent one, but then it ends up being just a raid voyage. There's not really any good way to tell. So I think it would be better if they had some kind of distinction between which one's a raid voyage and which one's not, because the raid voyage loot is just so much worse than the regular emergent loot. So either make it on par with each other and just have it all be Athena loot, but still equal in value to the emergent loot, or you need some kind of way to signal it. Maybe the cloud has a different tint to it. Maybe it's like a bluish raid voyage cloud instead of just like the normal Reaper Fort cloud. I don't know what exactly they should do for that. Let me know in the comments below what you think. And then finally for the gameplay itself, this might be slightly controversial or, a minority opinion of this, but I think in terms of the ghost ships that are there, I think they're fine in the beginning, but I think if it's like a solo or maybe a duo group that's doing the fort, it should only spawn once. And then for the bigger groups, or if there's multiple crews on the fort, you can have it keep respawning over and over again. But I think if that difficulty could scale a little bit, it would make it more approachable for solo and duos, because it's very frustrating and takes up a lot of time for a solo person specifically to do these Reaper Forts if they have to constantly keep going back to the ship to shoot at a couple ghost ships that are, circling and attacking, and then go back and keep working on the fort. Everything else about the Reaper Forts, I actually enjoy the gameplay. If you are just, there for the gameplay itself, I think they are a nice upgrade to the original Skeleton Forts. They're a little bit more of a challenge if you're a more experienced player, because the waves are so much bigger and there's just so much more surrounding you. There's a lot more gunpowder skeletons that are happening, so you have to be careful about dying from that. And like I said earlier, I really like the caches. So you get the Master of Arms skull, and you can either choose to sell that at the smuggler hideout, and maybe that could be changed a little bit too. I think you should be able to sell that to the Order of Souls as well. But you can also choose to open up the weapon cache with it. And in that cache, you have a chance to get a bunch of good stuff that can help you finish the fort, or you can use it to defend the fort if someone's coming to attack. So I really love that part. I think that was a really smart addition to it. The traps, on the other hand, I've used the traps a little bit within the fort itself, but some of the ones that are on the outside I haven't used too much. I think one thing to help make the traps a little bit better on the forts is make some of them like automatic, so like maybe they're hit by a pressure plate or something that's in the ground, similar to how the smuggler hideouts kind of are right now. I don't want tons of them all over the place, but it would be nice to have it so that people have to be a little bit smarter about where they're going on the fort, or if you have someone that's like chasing you, you can maybe chase them and get them to run into one of the traps. And I think that would work. I've also had a few times when I've tried to use the traps at forts and then the like little lever just doesn't go. Like you'll be holding it and it's just kind of infinitely holding and not doing anything. And by the point that, you know, either it's an AI enemy that's coming up to attack you or it's a player enemy that you're trying to get, you're already kind of lost it because now they're on top of you attacking you. So you kind of lost the opportunity. So they need to fix some of the spots that you activate the traps because that seems to not be working, at least when I've been doing it in the past. But that's a little bit more of a nitpick there. Overall, though, I think the Reaper Forts are a solid reskinned addition to the game. I don't think it's anywhere near being a good new piece of content to the game, but if we're going from the mindset of, hey, we're going to take the Skeleton Fort and upgrade it to be something a little bit more fresh, I think they accomplished their goal with that. Going into the future, though, they need to make the rewards better, and honestly, maybe this is even more of a hot take, potentially get rid of the raid voyage for it. While I think it's nice that you can just do it on demand and you don't have to go and search and dive to new servers to find it, I also think when you see something like the Fort of Fortune, you know what you're going to get when you go for that. Right now with the Reaper Forts, though, if you see the Reaper Fort up, you have no idea whether or not it's a raid voyage or a merchant one. The best way you can tell currently is that if it has a Reaper chest at it, it's going to be a merchant one. But the Reaper chest and the Chest of Fortunes are going to be leaving after Season 18. So these forts are going to be heavily losing a lot of the value that people are doing them currently for. So I think going into Season 18, we should look at maybe upgrading the rewards that you get for either the raid voyage or potentially just getting rid of the raid voyage and then just making their merged one really good. But those are my thoughts on the Reaper Forts after 1 month of playing them. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think about the Reaper Forts? Do you think they're going to have a good longevity in the game? Or do you think people are not going to care at all about them once the Chest of Fortune's gone? I'd love to hear all y'all's thoughts in the comments below, but if you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you have to like and subscribe. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye, y'all.